All right, we've got the infamous Chris Bute. Probably, is it fair to say, Chris, are you known as the strongest man in Sidcore, like physically the strongest?
I don't know, man. Benny still wants to fight me, so we gotta make that happen as a charity event or something.
Oh, would you be up for that challenge?
Of course, a fighter never backs down. I don't care who they are. Line them
I
up.
think he fought at what was his weight that he fought at professionally?
I think 205. I think he was a light heavyweight. I do remember. I fought at 185.
Yeah, I would not want to fight Benny Madrid. I mean, do you have like a black belt or anything like that in mixed
Purple,
martial arts?
purple, purple in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, okay, Chris. Well, if you're looking for an agent, I'm your guy. If I was your agent, I would ask him to tie his left hand behind his back. That's all I.
That's a non-fighter mentality, my friend.
Yeah, I know. Just he's a dangerous man. He's a bad man.
Sure.
Um,
Good dude though.
but if you were to do an arm wrestle, I mean, I'd put my money on you pound for pound on
Arm,
the house.
arm wrestle, I'm beating him.
Okay, well, I think that's an easier charity event we could put together. So I'll be your agent on that one too.
That works.
Um, Yeah, but listen, in my mind. I mean, one thing I've always looked at you, and maybe it's because I had Nabil partner with you for a long time, and so you just did such a good job taking care of him. And he'd tell me even little stories like, Chris comes to the office today and he gives me a pair of Air Jordans, Jamie, just out of nowhere, just a pair of shoes, like just a really good guy that would give the shirt off his back to other people. I think that's kind of how everybody, now I've got the personal Jordan story, but I think this is kind of how everybody looks at you, that, you're just a very character driven guy that cares about his guys. Anything you want to say about that? I mean, would you say that that's kind of your, secret weapon over the years and the success that you've had?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I try to hold myself to, listen, I'm not perfect, obviously, no one is, and I think I make mistakes. Sometimes I say some things to some deals or have some, conversations that I regret having. But I think the most important thing about having good character is just knowing that sometimes you mess up and it's okay to say I'm sorry and it's okay to be humble and just say, hey, I messed up, I wasn't right. And I think that over time, what happens is, a lot of people get their egos in the way, and that gets in the way of who they really are as a character. And I think for me, I just learned over time, it's like, hey, you can make mistakes, you can mess up, but as long as you know your intent, and my heart was in the right place, and they know your heart's in the right place, I think that defines someone's character. And I think I do a good job of my heart is always in the right place. Sometimes the way it comes across might not be the best, and I'm a work in progress, just like they are. So I just let them know, hey, I probably messed up, probably came at you a little tough there, but I'm learning. I'm learning how you want to be treated, and I gotta kind of as a coach just adapt to that. But over time, yeah, I mean, listen, this business has given me a lot, but I feel like over time it's because I've given so much to the business, I've gotten so much in return. So I feel like if you're very generous with your training, your time, and what you do for people, people always want to have your back and do things. So I think it's worked both ways, right? Like I think a lot of people have given me a lot of things. Nabil had taught me a ton, as a man, and I think that learning from him was great too. And so I think I don't think it was just a one way street. I think we worked and learned from each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's fair enough. Um, um, yeah, I had a question. I lost it. I had a question in that. Um, anyway, that's okay. It may come back to me. I may
Shoot,
extrapolate that a little bit more from
we
you,
could
but
circle back around.
yeah, circle back Saki. That's what we'll do. Circle back Saki. So I did ask you in advance before this call, like, um, hey, so Chris, what do you think you're really great at? And so it's interesting your response because you got a guy like Gurneet who's pacing for a $5 million ICL. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, I always knew this was going to happen at some point in time, and even in the future, there'll be a $10 million ICL kind of thing, right?
Right.
Um, but I mean, talk about a guy shattering records. I mean, the previous record was in the low threes, and he's about to hit five, so he's really crushing it. But your response when you said, "Hey, something that's really working great in the org, just high standards in the organization." So you want to talk about that? Like, I assume Granite's a reflection of that, but just talk about standards and what you're doing in your offices.
Yeah, I think that I learned a lot from promoting deals, and I used to just try to pump. I think one year I pumped out 5 deals in a year, and I was just like, I need to pump out deals, and I thought that was the game, right? Just get as many deals on, and then just watch which ones stick, and play that game. And when you do that, it kind of you water down not only the person, but you water down their opportunity. And I think then the standard becomes okay. It doesn't matter how the deal goes out as long as the person that sent it out, like it's more of like, oh, I promoted 5 deals in a year. Okay, it's like, well, two are still here, the other three are gone, and I'm shocked that the two that are still here, right? Like, what kind of love did I give them when they went out? And I probably only sent them with five or whatever the minimum of everything was, right? Like 5 liters or whatever we called it at that time. And I think over time, you just learn that, like, hey, it's more important to promote somebody out and make them a promoting owner or a consultant and give them a chance to do that. Because I've learned something over this game is they got to get a taste of what real success is like within their first 24 months of being in the business. So if you start them with like 3 or 4 guys and you start them in the negative where they're not profiting and they don't feel confident, chances are pretty high they're going to struggle along because they never really got that taste of what it feels like, and then they put more effort in at that point. So I started to think to myself, okay, like how did I send out most of these deals? And I sent them out with like maybe a leader or two that was strong, and then the other guys were kind of like, yeah, so so. So I look at it now like, okay, the standard just has to be high. It has to be. So when I promoted Gurney went out with 8 studs. I think his opening wire was like back then before we got the commission upgrades and stuff. His opening wire was like 17, 18. And then I just looked at it like how easy of a deal Granite was, right? Like from that point forward, because his confidence was through the roof. He knew what he was doing. He was getting ready to promote deals right away. And now I watch how he does it. Abdallah going out, Zay going out, Isaiah Hogan and Abdallah. And I look at the same thing, and I'm looking at their money, and it's like 35,000. I know Abdallah is like 80K wires. He's probably going to do 3 million this year. It's like it's 8 million coming out of that office, and it's just that all they're seeing is a cycle of success. So like, and then I look at maybe some of my other deals that I didn't do that for, and their deals are struggling a little bit more. So I feel like there's copies of copies, and once you set that out and you set that standard, it's very hard to correct what they saw. It's like whatever you see growing up as a child is kind of what molded you into the human that you are today. And it's funny, I had a conversation with my buddy right now because he took in this girl into his house, and she's in college, and they're trying to help him along. And I have one of the girls downstairs helping me babysit right now, and she's like, it's just frustrating because she doesn't take out the garbage when we're away, and she doesn't do it, and she keeps the house messy, and she doesn't do things for the house. And I just said, like, hey, you got to think like how that person was raised. That's the norm. Like maybe that's the norm, and I think that you can't undo that. It's very hard to undo what you've already learned from when a child. And I look at our outside deals as children. So I think Gurney just does a great job of just holding that standard what I showed him, and then it reflects in his entire organization. And then once you get a taste of what that looks like, my next deal, Kevin, he's his wire last week was 42. So that was the deal after Gurney. It's like, okay, now these deals are going out with I sent Kevin out with 10 guys. So it's just it's a lot easier to promote that kind of deal, and the standards that I hold them to, I make sure I do as well, right? So like I hold my org call every single week. Like one of my big things. I know. Listen, it's weird because we have not that we have a different philosophy, but like your camera has to be on. If you want to be on this org, you want my support, you want my one-on-ones, you want me to be there. Camera needs to be on. You need to be there every week. Otherwise, don't call me that week for help. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's just the way I run it. And it's like, everyone jumps on, everyone logs on, and every Tuesday, 4 o'clock, they know what time it is. And I feel like I have that rapport of what it is. But we also like, a girl that I have out in Jersey right now, she also wants to get open. And I just look at our blue and green report, and listen, if I had to send in the paperwork to Sidcor, they would say yes, but I wouldn't say yes. So I don't care what Sidcor standard is; it's what Chris Bute's standard of opening an office is. And before anybody in my organization opens a deal, they gotta kind of glide it through if they want my kind of coaching and my mentorship. And that might sound egotistical, but I'm not willing to help out a deal that has three guys when they first go out. Like, I just don't have the time or the energy to do that. You put them in the bad position, now you fix it. And then once you get them, as Gary would say, we're in the business of making good people great, not average people good. And we're building an army, not a hospital. So I'm not here to like repair your office when you're down to three people because you set them out the wrong way.
Hmm. That's well said. And yeah, you're making me remember now with the got to turn the camera on even on like the campaign calls, Verizon and stuff. Like I do like that. I think that's smart. You want to know that people are engaged, they're not drifting off, they're not.
Well, we ask for a half an hour once a week on the ICL calls, and we go over
Right.
information. And what happens is, I have a say in helping running the program and the bonuses and everything else. So when we go over all this stuff and the things you have to do, and then 2 days later, like, oh, I didn't even know that. It's like because you weren't on the call paying attention. You were probably out in the field doing other things, and they're like, oh, well, you don't know what that's like. I'm like, I was in the field last week. I was in the field today. I went in the field today. I went in the field last week. I closed two apps within my first four doors. What are you talking about? Like, I'm still doing the same things that you're asking them doing. Plus, we got 26 offices, and plus, I have three kids. Plus, I have six other businesses. I don't. If anybody's at a lack of time, it's me. It's just priorities. I make a priority to be present on wherever I am. I'm present right now. So like this is where I am. Like, no looking at the phone, no scrolling. I'm locked into here. This is what I, set out to do. So if I jump on and like how much, if I did the same interview and my camera was off, the effect is different.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. That's great. Um, See if you can identify with this. I mean, I think a lot of us that have been in the business for a while, and I think you're probably like a 20-year vet as well too. You're pushing 20.
Out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
2008, I opened my office.
Okay. I think a lot of us, like in the old days, we're shuttling our people through the program and like making a huge deal when you get promoted to ownership. Like, you cross the finish line. Like, congratulations, let's have a big party. And in today's climate, and I think I'm kind of hearing this from you, the undertone of it, like, well, congratulations, you're now starting. Like, you haven't arrived by any
We
means.
don't do parties. I don't do assistant manager parties anymore. I
Right,
don't do owner parties anymore.
right.
Um, my parties are for the top owners. We're going to Costa Rica together as a crew, and that's going to be a party when Gurney gets promoted to consultant because I don't want them to feel like we don't acknowledge them. We acknowledge them in the org chat. I give them a personal call. I say great job, but I don't want them to think that's the end all be all. Like getting
Right,
to assistant management is, and I, excuse my French, but I just say you're someone's glorified bitch. So the goal is to get out of assistant management, not to get to assistant management. It's to get out
right,
of assistant management.
right,
So you have your own show because really you just get a lot more work and not a lot more pay in assistant management.
right. Yeah, exactly. And the expectation with running an office is to become a consultant. It's not to run a sales office. Like, so that's why it's not that big of a deal. Like, hey, listen, it's the starting point. You got eight more deals to go to become an OC. So like, let's get to work here. So I think a lot of us sort of had to figure that one out the hard way because, we had people that got promoted, they're rookies, they thought they had arrived, they stopped working like they did to become an owner. And it's like, yeah, we're kind of setting them up for failure if we don't get the right mindset. So you can identify with that?
Oh, 100%. And listen, there's, I said it last week. I don't remember the last time I've actually just like taken a vacation where I just like shut off everything. And I don't feel like, and I said like, hey, maybe when I get here, and every time I say that when I get here, I'm going to set the bar. I set the bar a little further, a little further, a little further. But I also feel like just in general, it's like, what is the goal? Just because you own something, what do you own? Like if you don't own your time and you don't have the ability to make changes in your time and your schedule and the finances to do that, you own nothing.
Right.
So ultimately, the game is not consultant. It's not platinum consultant. It's time, because we only get X amount on this earth for time. And for me, it's like, hey, do I have the ability to? My kids were off from school today. I went to a lacrosse tournament this morning. They had like some fun little lacrosse tournament for the kids. Was I able to be there? It was at 9 in the morning. Yeah. I mean, I went there and then I still got the other stuff done. I had calls all day. So like starting at 11, I had calls and I hit the field for a couple hours. And do I have the ability to write my own schedule? Entrepreneurship, this minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep, you choose the hours. I have time. So I don't care what title you give me, consultant, senior consultant, platinum senior consultant. It's ultimately, does it create enough revenue where I have time? And can
Right.
I offer the opportunity for people to have the lifestyle that I have that creates time? Because, people are like, oh, you just did all this work to your house. You got a boat, you got this, you got that. All those things are just utilities for me to create time with my family and memories.
Hmm.
So all those things are great, but they're liabilities, if anything. But I don't care if they're liabilities because I have a different outlook on it. Nothing's promised tomorrow. So I'm gonna buy the things that I want to do, so I can do the things I want to do with my kids and my family and things. And then this business just gives you a lot of money to create more time.
It's interesting, you say that, and like you said earlier today, you closed two apps. Like you've always been good at like staying connected to being a pace setter, right? So I can imagine if I'm an owner in your org, I'd have a hard time justifying like, yeah, that's yeah, how many times did I go in the field last quarter? Well, maybe I might have went once or twice last quarter, like knowing that Chris Bute is hitting the field consistently often. I mean, what's your, I mean, some people just straight up like going to the field. I mean, just straight up, they like the interaction. They want to stay close to what customers are saying so they can really fine tune their program and offer the right feedback for the client or get the right promos. So, what's your take with it at this stage? Because you have so many pace setters, like Chris Butte doesn't necessarily need to go into the field, but you still do it.
Yeah. So like, and listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a person that, and I don't mind the field at all. It doesn't bother me. Like I don't. It actually makes it a lot easier because I can look on my schedule and say, hey guys, I got to cancel the calls today because I'm doing a full day in the field. So that actually mentally, if I'm just going to the field and pitching with one of my guys, it's a lot easier than sitting on calls all day long
Hmm.
and that kind of a thing. That's just me personally. But I can't say I'm consistently in the field every single week. Right now, we have a test pilot for Restaurant Depot. I got to figure out the program. I got to figure it out, and I got to be in the field to show the guys that I'm trying to figure it out. Two, we're trying to switch all of our guys from FiOS first to mobility selling. So I brought in 2 road trips. So I got road trips in when someone's coming into my office from another state. Last night I was out to dinner with them until 10 o'clock at night. I had them at my house. Augie's guys from Ed Cunliffe's org. They came in the week before, and I had them out to dinner. What I mean, I want to take them to my house and let them meet my family, and you just you want to be a good guest if someone's spending their time to come to your office. So I just always looked at it like, hey, if there's a business trip in, they're high priority. So the minute I get off this call, I'm gonna go get changed and I'm gonna head out to office night and go meet them and go grab drinks and get them appetizers and hang out with them, right? And listen, those things are not easy to do. At our age, we start to want to go grab wings and beers a little less. It's because you got so many things going on with the kids and the sports and the family. It becomes tougher to kind of, how many wings and beers can you have in your life? But it's the discipline. Motivation goes away, but the discipline stays. And I have very good discipline, and I think that's what's made me successful. I'm up at 5 in the morning every single morning working out. I'm doing the same routine that I did that made me successful. And then maybe one day, listen, when I get to a platinum senior, or when I feel like I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in this business, maybe I'll let off the gas pedal a little bit and try to enjoy a little bit more of golf and traveling and stuff like that. But right now I don't feel like I've made it yet, so I got some work to do.
Hmm. Interesting. Um, you might, are you a Yankees fan?
I am.
You're a Yankees fan. So years ago, right? So I got this resume on my desk. I've got it says, Danny Tartable, New York Yankees, Kansas City Royals. And I'm like, Danny Tartable. And he was on Seinfeld for a bunch of cameos and stuff like that. And so anyway, he was bored in retirement. He decided to come work with me. It was a very interesting time working with Danny Tartable. And so he was just jacked under a suit. Okay. So it looked a lot like you. And I'm always kind of hitting him on the back and whatever, like, good job, Danny. And after getting to know him, like you can just tell, you can feel the tricep in his arm. I'm like, Danny, like, how often you working out? He goes, oh, and same thing like you, 5 o'clock in the morning, Jamie, six days a week. I'm like, yeah, but you're not a professional athlete anymore, Danny. You're a retired Major League Baseball player. And he's just kind of shaking his head. He goes, man, habits are hard to break. It was the first time I ever heard somebody use that sentence when it came to a good habit. And
Right,
people
right,
use
right,
that
right.
phrase when it comes to trying to break a bad habit, but he
Right.
was just in the habit, even years after baseball, of just being a machine. So yeah, it takes a lot of discipline to do that, but it's been serving you well, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's just, over time you just, I'm very afraid, right? And I'm very afraid that when you stop doing it, and I've done it like over time, like if you stop doing something, it's very hard to get back on the bike.
Hmm.
So, but if you never stop doing it, it really is pretty easy. It's the momentum is there already. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't running an office for me. It's like, oh, people are like, when you hit senior, you're gonna stop running an office. I'm like, no, when I hit platinum, maybe I'll stop running an office because that's really what my goal was from the get go, was platinum or bust. So I can't say that, and that was my spiel the entire time. And then once I hit senior, walk away from running a business.
Hmm.
Maybe I do it differently. I don't know. I'm not there yet. I'm getting close. I think we're hitting the number. We're doing like 440. We got 26, 27 offices. I have the six first gen, so I think by keys I'll hit it. But I don't have any plans over the next 5 years to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Like you've got the habit. Your fear is like, hey, if I stop getting started again, right? Like I remember Brad Park years ago, like he had a hard time stop smoking cigarettes. And so, he'd stopped and I'm like, you ever get the temptation, Brad, of like just one, like every now and then? He goes, dude, it was so difficult to stop. Like I'm just afraid if I have that one, I'm just gonna do it all over again. And then, how do I stop again? It was so, so hard. But just that discipline to do the right thing, is, what he did. So yeah, you're a disciplined guy. It shows in your muscles. Um, I remember what I was going to ask. You had me thinking. I was looking at your fan for whatever reason in over your shoulder and got distracted. Yeah, other shoulder. But you were saying when your intentions are good, right, with your people, and you'll screw some things up, um, and you'll apologize. I find that interesting because I keep giving my son, who's 15, I keep giving him credit. Like he's very humble and is willing to apologize. Uh, and he says, well, and Dad, why are you giving me so much credit for that? And I'm like, I don't think I apologized until my like late 20s, as embarrassing as that sounds. Like I think I had this ego or something like that where, I can't apologize, got to do things right, whatever. And got to be confident, don't want to show weakness, whatever that was, whatever that issue was with me. But you don't have this issue. Like, again, you'll be quick to apologize when you're screwing something up with your team.
Yeah, now it wasn't always like that, right? Like, so I think it's now I'm more like that, and I just realized it's like, hey, listen, they're learning too, so they're not perfect, and I try to put myself in other people's shoes as much as possible. So I have some owners that are 22, 23 years old, and I'll give them the advice, and they just will totally fucking do what they want. And then they'll come to me and ask me for advice after they didn't take my initial advice, and that's the definition of an asshole, right? Like like you ask for advice and still take it. And the old me would just be like, "Well, I told you so." But what's the goal there, right? Like, what's the intent of me telling them that? Is that for my ego to make me feel good that I told you and you didn't listen? They're now they're coming. They're humble enough. They messed up. They knew that you gave them the right advice. They didn't listen. So maybe it took that. And I looked at it like when I first started in the business, I think, Wiggins and you, I probably a million people gave me advice on shit that I ended up, I'm the type of kid that, hey, oh, the plate is hot. The plate is hot. Well, let me find out if the plate is hot. Let me touch it. Right. I need to touch that plate. And then I'm like, oh, Jamie, the plate was hot. It's like, no shit, I told you that. It's like, okay, well, I needed to know that you were telling me the right thing. And I had to feel it and feel some pain in order to make change. And I think a lot of the times people need to feel pain to change, and that's okay. It would be a lot easier if you just listened to your coaches right from the get go, but not everyone does that, and I was one of those people. And so now I look at it like, when I make a mistake, it's like, hey, dude, I messed up. I probably came across a little bit, you know, as an asshole, and apologize for that. I'll try to do better, but I also need you to do better, and I need you to do better at communicating when I'm an asshole and you're not happy with me, instead of just keeping it in, because I can't make any changes if you're not telling me what I'm doing wrong. So we got to have that communication, and I got to be, my ego has to get put aside for sometimes to realize that, hey, they didn't like the way I was treated. So um, now listen, it's okay in life to agree to disagree, right? So maybe you felt something and I felt something different. And you see this with politics now, right? We can agree to disagree. It's about having good conversations and knowing where they're coming from. And I think there's less and less of that in the world, and I'm trying to bring more of it to the world.
Mm,
It's like, hey, we don't have to always agree, but we have to agree how we come across to the person.
yeah. Yeah, I think Gary said something to me years ago that made a lot of sense. Like, people may or may not remember what you said. People may or may not ever remember, what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. Like, so when people are around you and they're around Chris Bute, they'll remember how you made them feel. So we really should be sensitive to, how we make people feel, if we're too tough on people, or, we're not helping them the way they need to be helped. So I've just found, as I've grown as a man, in the business and being a dad as well too, I'm just much more sensitive to how people feel than I ever was as a rookie owner. But again, I think it does take I'd say to my son, like, it takes a big man to apologize. And I love that. Like, keep it up. Like, you're going to make a ton of mistakes. Be quick to recognize it, admit you're wrong. People appreciate that, and then learn from it, grow, move on, that kind of thing. So,
100%.
um,
Yeah. If you could just learn, and I learned that a lot from my son, and people remember how you make them feel, and being present is one of the things I'm working on. Is like, hey, when I'm here, I got to be here.
mm,
And the one that chases two rabbits catches none, right? And I got to focus on what's going on right then and there, and live in the moment, because we live in an age where technology and stuff will pull you away. And I know there's people walking to my house sometimes, and someone's talking to me, and I'm on the phone, and I'm like, man, and after the conversation, like, there was two people today, and they came in and they were helping me with something. That one of the guys from the local area was helping me move some stuff, and I'm like, sitting on the phone, and my buddy's talking to me about his business, and he's not doing good mentally, and he's like, I've been trying to get in touch with him for like 5 or 6 days, and if we finally get in touch with him, and I'm like, fuck, like, how do I get out of this situation? Because my buddy needs to talk to me right there, and this guy's, helping me with something, and he probably is like, this guy's such an asshole. He's on the phone, and I'm helping him do shit at the thing. And I thought about that afterwards. So all I did was shot a text of, hey, buddy, I really appreciate you. Thank you for coming over before. I'm sorry that I got caught up on the phone. I didn't mean to. And listen, I'll, let me get you a drink next time. Like, and listen, trust me, he's like, hey, dude, that means a lot, blah blah blah. It's just like
sure.
knowing that, like, hey, I probably made him feel like shit because my ear was plugged to the phone, but that conversation needed to happen. It was very important, and I didn't expect him to come then. So
Yeah,
it's just
sure.
about apologizing and knowing how you make people feel.
Yeah. Well, it takes a lot of self-awareness to know that too. I mean, you could very easily be stuck in your world. It's all about me, the world revolves around me, but no, you're aware of how you're likely making this individual feel. And so I commend you for your self-awareness, Chris. So,
Try. Listen, not always, but I try.
yeah. Well, we'll have to ask Nicole about your self-awareness. She's the
Oh, yeah.
she's
I'm
the
gonna
judge
lose
and
that
jury.
battle. I'll tell you that right away.
Um, So just last question. I know we're kind of at time, but you also said aside from like, standards in the org, it's just knowing how to get the most out of your people. Any go-tos on how to get the most out of your team?
Yeah, I mean, just make them feel really good about what they're really good at. And, people will hold themselves to the standard that you tell them that they're good at. So, like, if someone's just really good, like, hey, dude, you're the best in the org at doing this. And I don't lie. Like, I'm not a person that's a fluffer, but I'm going to tell you, like, if you're the best person, hey, dude, like, Granit, man, you when you deliver a message, people fucking listen, dude. I don't know if it's you have the weight behind it, but I need you to deliver this message to the org, and there's no one that could do it better than you right now. You're the one. You're the guy. I'm doing maybe 1.5. You're doing 5 million, dude. And he's like, oh, but no, they listen to you. I'm like, no, dude, listen to me. You're the best at delivering this message. I need you to deliver it. Or it's like Abdallah, like, hey, dude, like, I got a bunch of rookies. They're all looking at you because you have the most energy. He's like, no, you're always fully energetic. I'm like, no, dude, like you have the best energy. You're smiling all the time. Everyone thinks you have the best energy. You're the guy. So whenever he comes on the call, you just see him, hey, everyone, like, like I can't do that right now. Maybe it's not that I can't, but like I don't have it like you do. You're just full level. So, if you make people feel good at what they're really good at, they'll hold themselves to that standard. And I just try to get the most out of what they're good at. And no, listen, everyone has limitations. Every single owner has limitations, but it doesn't matter because if you have limitations, you just double down on the shit you're good at. And I've learned in this business, there are so many different ways to skin a cat, and there's so many different owners, and you don't have to be good at everything. You just have to be really good at something. And I think I've figured out over time, like, hey, what's my go-to? But I don't always have to. I'm not Elijah. I'm not going to nail you with the numbers. I'm not Jamie Hebb, where I'm going to be super planned and organized for everything I do. Although I've gotten significantly better with my scheduling and Sky app, and I follow it to a T. I'm still never going to be Jamie. So what am I good at? I'm good at being real with the guys, being straightforward, holding a high standard, and then living up to that standard. So I am going to drive that point home, and hopefully people follow that. But then when you need coaching on, hey, dude, I'm having a tough time planning. Hey, bro, I'm with you. I'm having a tough time too. Go to Jamie. Go to Elijah. Go to somebody that's really good at it because I'm not your guy.
Hmm, that's great. Knowing people's strengths and leading into that, huh?
Yeah, leading into it, making them feel good about it. Because
Yeah.
I say this all the time. It's like I've never seen somebody leave the business with 30 grand wires. Really, right? You just don't see that happen. It's like I've never seen a rep in the field leave with $2,000 paychecks. People
Right.
always leave when things are not going good and they're mentally not in the right place and their emotional intelligence gets low. And when their emotional intelligence get low, they make bad decisions. So if you make people feel good, even when things are not going great, and you give them something to ride on, chances are high they're going to be more successful and get themselves out of that slump.
Yeah. That's terrific, Chris. Thank you.
You got it, man. Listen, hang. Hopefully, we just started getting the Cali weather here, so it's 80 today, and all the kids are in the pool and they're loving life right now. So, I know you guys get that year round, but for us, it's a special time of year. I have a different energy, and this is different energy this time of year for the New Yorkers because the good weather. I think it's 92 on Sunday, and
Yeah.
dude, if people are like, "Oh, that's hot," I'll take 92 over 32 any day of the week.
Yeah, we're getting some New York weather here, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's the
Let's keep it
politics
rolling.
happening in the country. I don't know what
Let's
it
keep it
is, but
rolling. I love it. I love it. You guys get our weather, we get your weather. I
yeah.
get to stay living in New York. I'll take it.
Yeah, I had a mosquito in the house the other day. I'm like, where did this? Obviously, he's a foreigner. There's some kind of a illegal mosquito into that because we don't have bugs here in California. So, but it's been humid.
Well, listen,
So
listen, listen. Not to go political, but I'm sure ICE will get them.
ice will get them. Yes, yes. Get the mosquitoes out. I think everybody can agree on that. Get the
Yeah, everyone
mosquitoes
can
out.
agree on the if ICE was focusing on mosquitoes instead of people, I think a lot of people would be happy. So there's that.
I think we're onto something here, Chris. I think
Yeah.
we're onto something.
So
All right. Well, enjoy your team night. I know you got a split. You're a man who's very scheduled and organized. I love it, Chris. So thank you for joining our call.
you got it, buddy. Talk to you guys all soon.
Okay. See you in Dallas.
I'll see you in